Hello, everyone, and welcome to India Tech Hong Kong Presents Hackathon 3.0 in association with Council General of India, with our partners Neutrinos, who have powered the technology for the hackathon, our prize sponsor MateSpire, who kindly sponsored Hong Kong dollars 9,000 for the event, and AirMeet, who is supporting this platform. Right, I will be giving you. My name is Mushir Ahmed. I'm co-founder of India Tech Hong Kong, and I'm founder of Finstep Asia, which is an advisory firm based here in Hong Kong. We will start by presently sharing very briefly about the India Tech and the hackathon, and then we will go and listen to Ayush, whom everybody's eager to hear. So, second. Right, India Tech Hong Kong is a startup community. We are a community which is building as an initiative for engaging investors and entrepreneurs with an interest in the Indian startup ecosystem in Hong Kong, China, Greater Bay, and India. We engage as a community to build awareness of the Indian startup ecosystem and bridge between India, Hong Kong, and the China Greater Bay area. And the reason we set up was there's a lot of interest between Hong Kong and China Greater Bay to understand and invest in India, and we hope to build that as we go forward. We also want to build a community of Indians here in the startup world in Hong Kong. Our co-founders include Ms. Yosha Gupta, founder of Meraki and Lafa Lafa, Sai Sudha, who works at Invest India, myself, Pratish Sanyal, who's innovation at CLP, and Mr. Chandan Gupta, who's with FIPHK. Our core team members include Varun Magoon, who's a management consultant at Sinpulse, Mridul Bhatt, Shikha Mohanty, and Bharat Tanjia, who's managing director of Aspire. So what is this hackathon about? It is a 2-day event, which is supported by MateSpire and Neutrinos. We had application of over 50 teams from India and Hong Kong, to which we shortlisted 10, and from there, 5 teams were selected for the finals. Invited in universities included Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, University of Hong Kong, CUHK, PolyU, CTU, and Hong Kong Baptist University from Hong Kong. And from India, we had IIT Madras, IIT Mumbai, IIT Delhi, LSR, Lady Shri Ram College, for those who are not aware, RV College of Engineering, Delhi Technology University, SRCC, and BITS Pilani. Our event partners, MateSpire, who are prize sponsors, and Neutrinos, who are technology sponsors. This is what the session is going to be today. We will hear keynotes from Mr. Samik Ghosh, Ayush Jaiswal, and Ajit John Joshua. And our jury members include, in addition to Mr. Ajit John, we'll have Saranj Dev from CLP, Bhavilao, founder of MateSpire and MageHold, Chandra Mauli, who's the CTO at Shankara Netralaya, and Nisar Tuli, head product engineer of Neutrinos. This event is supported by Forum for Indian Professionals for Hong Kong, HKUI Dendron, Finstep Asia, Lime HK, W Hub, and Asia Tech Journal. So our industry mentors, these coached the teams yesterday. They spent 2 hours. Mr. Vishnu Krupar, who's a doctor at Sankara Cancer Hospital, was in between his surgeries when he helped out the teams as well. So a lot of commitment from them. But industry experts who build startups as well have been involved in the healthcare supply chain ecosystem. Sai Sudha, Mr. Vivek Mohindra, the Chandan Sethi, Vibhav Joshi, and Gaurav Gupta. In addition, the Neutrinos teams have worked all of today, to help these teams get onboarded onto the Neutrinos platform and develop MVPs and wireframes, which you will see when they present. Ms. Lakshmi Bogaram was the senior technical trainer leading these efforts, and Mr. Paul Thomas, Mr. Sarat Kumar, Mr. Lakshman Kumar, Mr. Clinton Fernandez, and Mr. Sankaran Joshi were working with the team throughout. We deeply appreciate both the mentors yesterday and today, the groups, for putting in their valuable time over a weekend to help these teams come up with innovative ideas on accelerating digitalization of healthcare services. So Mr. Avinash Sahu, Mr. Mahesh Dambre, and Mr. Ritesh Nandani were the first round judges, where they shortlisted the top 5 teams. We had workshops with Mr. Pratish Sanyal on business canvas on day 1, and Mr. Mahesh Dambre on pitching on day 2. As I mentioned, our keynotes will start soon with Mr. Ayush Jaiswal, and our finals jury, as I've already mentioned. Origins of Hack for India, we started in 2018. India Tech started in 2017, and we set the first hackathon in person in Hong Kong in 2018, which was on improving public access to healthcare info. Second one was focused on leveraging technology to increase education and fill the skills gap, where we had the honor of the ambassador for India to China, Mr. Vikram Misri, present as a special guest. And now I will hand over to Mr. Ayush Jaiswal, founder and CEO of Pesto Tech, to give a keynote about his entrepreneurship and about Pesto Tech. Ayush, over to you.
Thanks for the handover, and appreciate you inviting me here as well. Hey everyone, I think majority of the audience is students in college, and I have like 10-15 minutes to drive a point home, and I'll try to be as specific. I'll skip the story part because I'd like to add some specific value today. About the story, I actually started out in college as well. And that's why I think I wanted to do this, because I exactly know what's going through in your mind, the rush which you feel to do something, to create an impact, and things like that. I've had the same over the years, and that has led me to an interesting journey nonetheless. The journey has been exciting, but a quick background on me is that I belong to Varanasi, and I came to Delhi, joined some college just to get more exposure, learn how to build apps, and get more exposed to the tech universe, right? Unfortunately, I had to decided to drop out because I wanted to give myself more exposure and be more hands-on with things, which may or may not work with everyone else, right? But over the years, I realized that the education system had certain gaps which I wanted to bridge, and I with that thought, I kind of like went on to this journey with Pesto, in which I get software developers across the country, and I help them, train and be at par with software developers across the world. And then I help them connect with the top companies across the world, from Silicon Valley, from Australia, Hong Kong, so on and so forth, and work with them, right? I operate in a model which is a win-win for all, which is income sharing agreements, which makes our program free until we sort of give the promise which we had before people got into the program. I think that is the future of education, and that's what I'm working on. But before I get too much deeper into that, I would love to talk about certain other aspects, since I have limited time. And those aspects are that what you should do today if you're in college and you're thinking about starting up, right? And I'll share my biggest learnings, right? Things which I had, or things which really inspired me, which motivates me every day, and which I feel can be very valuable to you. And one of those things is having a deeper understanding of time, right? Over the years, I've come to realize that that the most important thing is time, and we all want to create some kind of impact in our lives, and I'm going to talk about that, why, if you are a student today, you should start up, you should do something, you should build something, right? It's not important to build a large company, but I think what's important is that you build something, because even if you fail, you come up with amazing learnings out of it, and I'll talk about why as a student you should just do something, build something, start something, and fail fast, right? The first thing which I wanted to get into is time, right? And I think I've read like multiple books and multiple concepts around how people perceive it, but I think there's a one specific thing which really sort of helps me understand the importance, right? And I'll quickly share my screen and share the perspective with you as well. Can everyone see my screen? I think I am unable to understand if you can see my screen or not. In chat, yes, cool. Okay, so yeah, I think this is time, right? Like 82.3 years is the average expectancy rate of the lifetime value, the average time a human being lives, right? In US, and if you are living in Delhi, I would highly doubt that, right? It's not as pretty, but 82.3 years is the average time a human being lives in a developed nation, right? And if you translate that it turns out to be 2.5 billion seconds, right? That is all you have in your life. What's interesting is that I always had this urge that throughout my lifetime, I really want to create some kind of impact in my life, right? And if you want to create some kind of impact in your life and do something which creates value, you need to understand how much time you have, how much time has passed, so on and so forth. And one day I realized that 30% time of my lifetime is already past, right? And I think if you are in college, I'm guessing that all of you would be around 22 to 25 years of age, and if that's the case, then you are probably 25 to 30% done with your life. And if you think about it, you spend 30% of the time sleeping, right, throughout your lifetime. Now you have the rest, 40% to deal with. And in that 40%, majority of the time you're going to spend in your old age, right? And when you get older, your productivity decreases unless you have experience, unless you have built up on some really good experience, which you can then sort of make the value of your time go exponential, right? So I think from that perspective, the conclusion which I got from this thought process was that if you are 22, 24, 25, then the next 5 years of your life has to be the golden years of your life. It has to be the most important years with respect to your learning, with respect to whatever you end up doing, right? And I think from that perspective, I think it's really important to understand the value of your time, because you might not be getting paid for your hours, but the opportunity cost for you investing your time elsewhere is very, very high for you. And I would like you to push yourself in a direction where you think about your time from an opportunity cost perspective, about how your time is going to be valued after 20 years, after 30 years, and then think about investing your time wisely basis that, right? The next slide which I have is a pretty self-explanatory slide, right? The next slide talks about the amount of time an average person spends on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, right? Now, I don't have to explain why am I showing this slide, right? And if you have all these three apps and you use all these three apps, God bless you, right? Uh, you really need to understand where you are spending your time. And I'm not saying that you should not spend your time on social or anywhere else, but all I'm saying is that you should invest your time consciously. If you have very large goals for yourself in 20 years, then be very, very conscious about that. If you just want to have fun, enjoy life, and live an average life, that's also a great life to live, and that depends on your choice. But I would really encourage you to do it consciously and make those decisions consciously, right? It's very interesting to see how much time we spend on these apps and calculate your time. There's an app called Rescue Time, which I would recommend everyone to download, and that will give you a breakdown of the amount of time you spend on different apps and things like that, which will then help you manage your time better, right? Now that was about time. The second thing which I wanted to talk about was the opportunity, right? That how is the opportunity so great, right? That why it is so important, why I was saying that today, no matter what you are doing, you really, really need to start up, you need to build something, you need to be an innovator, right? Here's the reason, right? Think about if you were an innovator. This is the graph of last 100 years and humanity's greatest inventions, and how much time it took for those inventions to get mass adoption, right? And if you're an innovator, if you're a builder, in 1900s, let's say you invented telephone, right? Telephone is one innovation which has defined our sort of world, right? I think telephone is something which has really connected us. It is connected the world better than Facebook, I would say, right? Like, it was one of humanity's greatest inventions. But if you were an innovator in 1900, you might have not survived to see the impact of the innovation which you did, right? It took more than 70 years for telephone to get mass adoption. It took more than 60, 70 years for stove to get mass adoption. It took more than 20, 30 years for auto to get mass adoption, right? And forget about those things. It took more than 50 years for electricity to get mass adoption, right? Now think about it as an innovator, that how grateful we have to be that if we invent something today, then the mass adoption can happen within a single year. Anyone here remember Pokemon Go? Right? One day, and everybody on earth was using it, like millions and millions of users, right? So whatever you invented were used by, millions of people, and the impact which you can create is so massive, right? And if we look at it, look at how the trends have evolved. The world has changed, and the world has changed in the favor of innovators. The respect with which the innovators and the makers and the builders needed has been given to them, right? And if you are one of them, I think we have to be so much grateful to people who have done things in the past, and really realize the importance of our time, that today we if we can do something, we are actually going to help the world move forward, right? And if you look at the trend, how the trend has evolved, earlier it used to take 40 to 50 years at an average to get mass adoption. But if you look at the trends on the right hand side, um, internet, cell phone, computer, uh, all of these things, social media, Pokemon Go got mass adoption in less than 10 years, right? And then if you look at the last 5 years specifically, there has been innovation on different, aspects, which has got mass adoption within a span of 5 years, right? So I think that is one of the things which I feel that you should really consider, and feel grateful about, and also understand that if you call yourself an innovator or an entrepreneur, or there are multiple different words for it, then you need to understand that it's a responsibility, and you owe this to people who have done things in the past, that that you have today the opportunity to create that impact at a much larger scale, and look at its impact in your lifetime, and you can actually create multiple impacts today, before you lose your prime, right? And with that, I think I'll also give you a mechanism that how, as a student, you should look at things, right? I think one of the quickest things to do today, right, especially if you're building something in software, is that you can just come up with an MVP over a weekend or maybe a month. You can gather some of your friends around. You can build something, right? Build anything, and do a launch on Product Hunt, right? Product Hunt is a platform which exists for launches like this. It is a community of makers where you can launch things, and the makers can give you feedback and help out with different resources. And I think the most important thing is that whatever you're building, you get sort of feedback and sense of whether it's working or not from that community, right? It kind of like helps you get the first 100 or 200 customers, right? And I think if that is true, that if you can get first 100 or 200 customers, you can just think, build things and see if it's working or not. So I would say that you today have the ability to launch 10 things over a month, and launch all those 10 things on Product Hunt, and see what's working, right? And if that ability is there, then I think, as a builder, I think that's a lot of privilege to be able to do that, right? But yeah, I think that's the point, which I believe I hold dear to myself. And I think it's important. I believe that as a student, that really helps you understand things in a much better perspective, and take action. So yeah, thank you so much for having me here again. I think I'm out of my time, but glad to be here. If you have any questions, or need any help, feel free to reach out to me on email or Twitter. I'm pretty active both the places.
Thank you, Ayush. It was very delightful. That talks a lot about value of your time and where you want to put your time for the rest of your life. Some of the audience wanted to know if you could share your deck, but we'll touch base with you offline to share that with the audience once you're comfortable with that. Okay. Thanks
Sure.
again, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next session is going to be a keynote by. So I'm going to end this session, and I'm going to start the next session.